Good morning, it's Friday and this is episode 9 of Choir Leader in a Kayak. Number 9's a funny number, isn't it? It's a bit topsy-turvy. We can turn it upside down and it becomes number 6. And if we're dyslexic, we can mistake it for a G, which then can be turned on its head and could become a B, and then turn backwards and it become a D. And that's the life of a dyslexic person, very confusing. And I think the country has woken up to a very confused state today, and many people feel that they have lost. So today's episode is about the word loss. And loss is huge, isn't it? Whether you think you've won or you've lost. I think today, for me, I take great comfort in understanding that some people today will be celebrating the birth of their first child. They might be holding the hand of somebody in their last hours of life. They might be planning an amazing birthday party. They might simply be looking after their child who's opened a dinosaur. I bumped into a little boy this morning who proudly showed me his brand new dinosaur, and it lifted my heart with great hope. Children have an incredible ability to deal with grief and loss in a very different way than we do as adults. And a very wise choir member told me last night that it's often referred to as puddles of grief. And children, when they suffer grief, they immerse themselves in this great big puddle, and it's all consuming, and it's cold and it's wet, and they feel that they cannot get out of it. And then very quickly they're out of that puddle and they're able to move on. It is a day of great loss for many, many reasons, but it is also a day of celebration. We had so many performances last week and all of them were amazing, and I watched in great awe at the strength of human spirit and human kindness as people opened their mouths and sang and showed the most vulnerable part of their soul, their voice, alongside another person's voice. And this week at the end of one of our concerts, a man came up to me in an 800-seater auditorium and said to me, "I have dementia and your concert has given me a glimpse of heaven." And that for me is probably the most wonderful feedback I think I could ever receive. So today, whatever you're feeling, if you feel that you've lost or you're triumphant over a win of some sort, remember that loss is different for everybody. And hopefully today can bring you some sense of relief, some sense of community and some sense of love, and a reason to want to carry on and to understand that there will be a new day tomorrow, and that we can find a little bit of joy and hopefully find that joy alongside another human being. It's a beautiful carol which says tidings of comfort and joy. And comfort and joy are the two things that we can bring to one another as human beings. I think it's hugely important today and every day. I don't normally write things before this episode, but I have had to find comfort, and I often turn to art or literature and music to find comfort in lyrics. So I'm going to end today's episode by reading the lyrics of a pop song and then the lyrics of a poem. The pop song I'd like to read to you are lyrics by Sting from the song Fragile, because as human beings we all know how fragile we are. On and on the rain will fall like tears from a star, like tears from a star. On and on the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are. I'd also like to read you a poem that I take great comfort from, and it refers to singing and where we are taken at the end of life. It's an amazing piece of writing by Siegfried Sassoon, who was a World War I poet, and I'll do my best to do it justice. Everyone suddenly burst out singing, and I was filled with such delight, as prison birds must find in freedom, winging wildly across the white orchards and dark green fields, on and out of sight. Everyone's voice was suddenly lifted, and beauty came like the setting sun. My heart was shaken with tears, and horror drifted away. Oh, but everyone was a bird, and the song was wordless. The singing will never be done. Thank you so much for listening, and I send you lots and lots of love and look forward to seeing you next week.